I'm getting ready to paint my laundry room. I thought I'd make a video of it while I'm doing it. The process of going through everything. So I'll flip my camera around here and show you what we have going on. Like I said, this is my laundry room. The washer and dryer sit over there. Back this camera out there. And something got jammed in the impeller of my wash machine. So I had to take the dryer out to get the washer out. And then I decided, well, I'm done all this work. I'm going to go ahead and paint this room and redo the floor. I redid the floors in the kitchen when we bought the house 6 years ago, and I painted the rest of the house. But I didn't want to go through all the work of painting the laundry room and the bathroom. So now a lot of the work, the most tedious part is the prep work. In this case, behind the washer and dryer was really dirty. So once I got that out of here, I cleaned the floor really good. First I took a broom to it, then a vacuum, and then I scrubbed it a few times with the mop. And then I took my vacuum cleaner with my brush attachment, and I went around and I vacuumed around the floor, on top of the cabinets, top of the doors, and I took that little round dust thing you see over there, and hit all the walls, make sure there's no cobwebs. Now, there's these shelves on both sides, as you can see. They're kind of pointless because we have a shoe rack that sits here. It's not like you can hang anything there. And with the cabinets, I'm wondering if maybe they had the shelf in and then they added the cabinets, because that shelf is doing nothing. You can't really put anything on it. So I'm taking them off, and I'm probably just going to leave them off. And I wasn't sure how to do it because these screws are a little difficult to get to. But what I did was I took my cordless drill with the screwdriver attachment. And you can do it by hand with just a regular Phillips screwdriver. I took those back screws out. I was able to go up at an angle like this on these, and I got those screws all out. And then this rotated, the back went down, and I was able to pull out of these brackets. And then I got my screwdriver and I took the brackets off on the other side, as you can see. Now the proper way to do this would be to get some caulk and fill in those holes. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not. They also have shelves. Wow, I took them all down. There was 3 shelves that fit on these little brackets here. I took those out. That way I can paint the back there. And also, as you can see, I took the outside doors off. That way I can get to this corner a lot better. But looking at the way this hinge is designed, I'm going to go ahead and take these 2 screws out too. So I have a nice straight shot here when I paint. It just takes a few minutes to take those screws out. The hardest part will be adjusting the doors when you get done. Make sure that they sit perfect. And you can adjust those, loosen these screws, raise and lower the hinges, get the doors where you want them. I also, because of the amount of room in here, I took this door off so I could get my washer and dryer that direction. And then I tied this door open, and I took my washer and dryer and put them in the garage. And that's the shoe rack that goes in here. This is the rack and the doors that came off. Now that was done with the Phillips screwdriver. Now you have to take off the cover plates so you don't get paint on them. And that you do with a small flat screwdriver. They're pretty easy to get off. You can see them up there. I saved all my screws, except one. I wasn't paying attention. I dropped a screw, and of course it went right down that vent. So I'm probably going to just have to find another screw. So when you get all your faceplates off, your light switches, and everything dusted, Then you'll want to do some masking more than likely. Now, I used to do a lot of painting, and I hardly ever use masking tape. I have a straight edge that I would put up against the woodwork, and I had one that was about 3 feet long, and then I would just paint up against the straight edge, and I never had to tape anything. But I painted a lot of apartments, and they didn't usually have woodwork like this. It was all painted, so you could get really close, and it was always the same color, so you didn't have to be that particular. In this case, I'm going to get some masking tape, which I'll show you in a minute. I already have some. And I'm going to go around and mask off everything that's flat. So the edge of this will be masked off. I'll get this other shelf off of here, take these hinges off, and I'll put masking tape here. I'll put masking tape around the ceiling so I don't get this new paint on the ceiling paint. I'll probably paint the top or mask the top of the cabinets. Just everything I don't want paint on, I'm going to mask it off. So let me get my masking paper or tape, and I'll get started doing that. Something else I'm going to do, because I'm going to redo my floor, I'm going to get a pry bar. I have a flat pry bar. I'm going to take all this woodwork off around the outside. I'm just going to pry it off, and then it'll make painting easier. I can put my new floor down and put the baseboard back on top of it. Then I don't have to cut the baseboard so precise to fit right up against the baseboard. So I'll pause this. I'll go get a few things and come back. So if you're doing like me and taking off the baseboard, and maybe you're taking all your trim off, what works pretty good is a small pry bar like this. You can get it in behind your woodwork. Once you get it in behind the woodwork, you can just pry on it and pop your woodwork off. And once you get it off, you're going to have a lot of nails that are in the woodwork if it's real wood. Now some of them will stay in the wall, like that one. And in that case, I'm just going to take my hammer and tap them in flush. You can also just take a pair of pliers and pull them out if you want and reuse them. And then these nails, you can do two things. You can either set this on something solid and pound the nail back through, just reuse it. But sometimes that'll split your wood here. So sometimes you just want to take a pair of pliers and pull the nail straight through the wood. But it's pretty easy to do. You just got to find some place where you can get your pry bar back in behind it. I'll magnify this a little bit. Get your pry bar back in there and pry the wood out. Takes a little bit of time now, but it'll save time on masking everything off. And in my case, I'm redoing the floor. It's really the only reason I'm doing it. Then I can fit my new floor pretty close to the wall and put this trim on top of it, and it'll look good. Now you also want to take some kind of a straight saw, probably, and cut this up about 1/4 to 1/2 inch, depending on what floor you're putting in. And I think I'll go ahead, if I can get it out of here, I'll take this 1/4 round out. And then I can put my flooring right up to that. Well, I might not do that because that's a pretty tight fit. Then my door won't open and shut. And I do not want to cut the door off. Nope, don't want to do that. So I'm just going to fit the flooring right up to this 1/4 round. The other choice would be take the 1/4 round out and just not bother with it. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of my flooring baseboard out, and I went ahead and took the cover off around the washer dryer hose. It just snaps on. It's a little piece of plastic. You can see it over there, that white square. And I got all my screws out, and I'm going to run down to Ace Hardware and get some caulk, because the caulk I have is too old. It's dried out. It's been a couple years. And I'm going to fill all these. I went ahead and took everything out. They've got these little plastic clips that went in for the screws to attach to. And I just put a screwdriver in the hole there and pulled them out. Use your fingernails, they come out pretty easy. So I'll fill all these holes in with caulk and level it out. Let that set for a little bit. And then I'll start taping everything off. I'll see if I can get something to hold my phone while I do the taping so you can see what I do. So when you're masking, you just let the wall be your guide. You can see it's nice and tight there. Nice and tight there. So you get your tape started, and then you can just unroll it. And as you roll this up tight, your tape is going to be right against the wall, and you can use your other hand to press it up. Oops. Use your other hand to press it up there tight. That's not going to work with one hand, but you get the idea. Just keep your tape, roll the tape right up against the wall. Get your tape tight, press it down, and you just do that all the way around. And then I'm using a razor knife, so I have nice square corners. So once you get it into the corner, just cut it off straight. Start, come back out this way, and just work your way all around all your trim. So when you get done, you don't have to worry about getting paint on any of your woodwork. Works pretty good. But this is a two-handed job. So there's a roll of tape. It's nice and tight against the wall. I started down there and I rolled it up. And when you get it all the way to the top, just take your hand and run down the edge of it to make sure it's sticking to the woodwork nice. Whatever you're taping off. That way you'll get a nice tight fit and you won't get any paint behind there. Now, make sure when you get done painting, you take your tape off right away. Don't even wait for it to completely dry. You're just going to be careful you don't mess up your walls. But I got called to a lady's house one time. She painted her bedroom and left the paint on there for days. And the paint soaked through the tape and stuck to the woodwork, and it would not come off. I tried, I couldn't get it to come off. I told her I wasn't sure how to get it off. I don't know if goof off or some of that stuff, if you worked at it long enough, would loosen it, but she had a mess. But see how you just roll the tape out and then push it down flat so it's touching, run your finger across it, get a nice tight seal. Then when you get it to the corner, take your razor knife, cut it off. Well, I got everything taped off. Taped off around the top, everything underneath here, so I can paint all the walls and not have to worry about getting paint on any of the woodwork. I took the cover plate off this dryer connection. It's 220, and I ran a piece of tape around the electrical connector. I can paint right up to that. Put the cover plate back on. And evidently they did some kind of repairs here. Cut a hole in the wall, put this cover on. So this looks like it'll take paint. So I'm going to paint all of that. And all I have to do now is go grab a tube of caulk, fill in all these caulk holes, or nail holes. Oops. There's one that's still got the plug in it. I've got to take that out, fill it with caulk. Don't know what was up there. There's another one there. Get those filled with caulk. And, oh, you know what I forgot? I've got to go around and tape along the ceiling because I don't want to cut it in. Now, this is my straight edge I usually use. I also have a bigger one. This one's about 2 feet long, but it works really good because instead of masking tape, you can just put it up against whatever you're painting against and run your roller there or your paintbrush and work it up. This one's got a little bow to it, so it should go the other way, but you can paint right up against anything. If you left your outlets on, electrical outlets, you could go right up against the side of the cover plate, paint it, work your way around. Sometimes you can use a 6-inch or 1-foot drywall knife, anything that you can put up against what you're trying to protect. See, normally I would just put a straight edge there and I would just paint it. I wouldn't even use masking tape. So much faster, because you have to take the time to put the masking tape on, then you have to take the time, take it all off, plus the cost of the tape. But since I don't want to mess around and get any wood on this paint on this woodwork, I'm taking the extra time. Now I'm going to have to go back up on my ladder, and that's one thing you're going to need. Either a small ladder like this, or you can get a 6 or 8 foot ladder. Well, not an 8 foot, maybe a 6 foot. 8 foot would be to the ceiling. That'd be silly. Anyway, I'm going to go around and tape the ceiling off, so when I am painting, I don't have to worry about this light. It's kind of a bluish green. You can see it there. Almost looks like a light gray. But that's the color I'm painting the laundry room. And I think I'm going to paint our bathrooms that color. Anyway, let me get the tape back out and work my way around the ceiling. You get your tape in the corner. You can just tuck it into the corner down the wall a little bit and take a straight edge. Go right in the corner and cut it. Tuck it back in there. There you have a nice straight corner. And this is nice and flat, so you can just start it there, start working your way down the other direction. Well, as I'm taping, when you first start off, your roll's pretty heavy. You won't be able to do this, but when it gets a little lighter, it'll just stick right there so you can move your ladder and it doesn't go anywhere. Works pretty good. Okay, I went down and picked up some caulk. I just got the cheapest stuff they have, which is window and door caulk. And I don't have a lot of caulking to do, so I just got this small tube. I didn't want to have to get a big tube. If I was caulking a lot, I'd get the cartridge that goes in the caulking gun. But so these come with a little cap, which you just pop the cap off. And then there's lines on there if you want. You can cut it. I don't know if we can focus any better. You can cut it on an angle, but in my case, I'm just filling a hole, so I'm just going to cut it straight off. There you can see the lines. But you can either cut it tapered, cut it straight, whatever. And then I'm just going to squeeze some caulk into these holes and then just use my finger to smooth it out and let it set for a while. I'll start painting other places where the caulk is not, but let me get this. Oh, you can use a knife to cut this, or you can use a pair of pliers, whatever. I'm just going to use my razor knife. Alright, so I got it cut off. Let's see. Yeah, it'll come out. So now, you just put it on the hole there. And like to squeeze some into the hole and cap it off. Squeeze some into the hole. And then if you need to, you can just take your finger and wipe it a little bit, make sure it's not sticking out too much. Make sure you wear some old clothes, something you don't mind getting paint and caulk on. It's pretty easy. Just want to make sure you fill the hole up so it doesn't sink too much. Then just smooth it off so you have a pretty smooth edge. So I'm going to go around, fill in all my holes, and then I'll be ready to start painting. So I got the holes all caulked. They'll blend in pretty good when I paint. But if you're painting, let's say you got a hole in the middle of a living room wall, you might want to take a damp cloth and wipe around it when you get done caulking, or a sponge, and get the caulk off of here, because I did this one time and smeared it around with my finger, and when I painted it, you could see all those places because it changed the texture. Okay, so if you're going to paint around an outlet, I have this small roller so I can get pretty close. And then you can go sideways like this, back and forth, till you get it covered. Just make sure you're evening your paint out, because otherwise you'll end up with a thin spot like that. So make sure you go over it several times can even it out really good. You don't want to have thin spots that are going to show up later. Well, I got it all painted, and I thought I did a pretty good job, but I noticed around the edges before I took the tape off it wasn't as tight as it could be, so I took the roller and ran it sideways into the tape. But now that it's drying, I can see there's a little thin spot. Let me get the light here. Maybe you guys can see it. A little bit of a thin spot there. It's hard to see because of the glare, I guess. Maybe you can see it better there. Now you can see it. So I'm going to have to take the roller out and go around really good. Oh, there's another one. It's hard to see when you're painting because everything's shiny. And it's hard to see, but there's right there. You can see it. There's a thin spot. There's another one. I may go around and give it a second coat. I just won't get next to the woodwork, so I don't have to worry about getting wood or paint on the wood. I think that's what I'll do. I'll let it dry for a while. I'll get the roller back out and I'll just give everything a second coat. There's another thin spot right there. So anyway, I guess 2 coats. Supposed to be 1 coat, but that's only if you do it perfect, and I didn't. So anyway, it turned out pretty good. I'm not too disappointed. It looks a lot better than just the off-white that's been here since the place was brand new 30 years ago when it was built. Next will be the bathrooms, but right after I paint it, I'm going to redo the floor. I've got that strips of flooring that are 1 foot by 3 foot. You just lay them down and they lock in together. It'll make this room look a lot better. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped somebody. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers eventually. So if this helped you out, feel free to hit the subscribe button. Usually I'm working on cars and stuff, but I used to be a handyman and did a lot of painting and maintenance work. So I'll make videos of stuff I do, different things. Thanks again.